St. Cyril of Alexandria says, what does preaching the acceptable year of the Lord mean? It signifies the joyful tidings of his own advent, that the time of the Lord, yes, the Son, had arrived. Luke chapter 4, verse 16, 17, 18, and 19. Then he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as was his custom, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and he stood up to read. And the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. And he unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to prisoners, and recovery of sight to the blind, to set free the oppressed, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord." The Orthodox Study Bible says, being the eternal Son of God, Christ did not become the world's anointed Savior, but has always been our Savior from the foundation of the world. It was Christ speaking through Isaiah who said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." Note that he does not say the Spirit has come upon me. When the Spirit of the Lord descended on Jesus at his baptism, this was a sign revealing an eternal, not temporal truth to the people. This is a revelation, the Spirit descending upon him in the form of a dove, a revelation of who he already was and who he had always been. It's not that he becomes anointed when the Spirit descends upon him, but the Spirit reveals the truth of his messianic ministry, which was always there. And who does the Messiah come to? The poor, the brokenhearted, prisoners, the blind, and the oppressed. These words have two layers of meaning. Of course, it means people in these states in a physical or temporal way. We remember that this is the Gospel of Luke is called the good news to the poor, and it really means those who are of lowly estate. But it also refers to these states in a spiritual way, to be spiritually impoverished and to be brokenhearted. And this is an interesting word in Greek, because when we think about being brokenhearted, we think about, well, maybe having lost at love or being disappointed, having faced some kind of disappointment. But the word in Greek here really means somebody who has a shattered heart, that at the core of their being, they are just completely undone. So he comes to the spiritually impoverished. He comes to those who are shattered at the core of their being. He comes to the prisoners under the captivity of sin and shame and death. He comes to the blind who are unable to see the action and the glory of God in our lives. And he comes to those oppressed by our own sins and by the evil that is in the world around us. St. Cyril of Alexandria says, it was he who preached the kingdom of heaven to the heathen. They were poor, having by nothing, not God, not law, not prophets. Rather, he preached it to all who were without spiritual riches. He set the captives free, having overthrown the apostate tyrant Satan. He shed the divine and spiritual light on those whose heart was darkened. This is why he said, I come as a light in this world, John 12:46. It was he who took the chains of sin off of those whose heart was crushed by them. He clearly showed that there is a life to come and sinners denounced in just judgment. Finally, it was he who preached the acceptable year of the Lord when he says to the poor, the brokenhearted, the prisoners, the blind, and the oppressed, he has come to offer deliverance to all of humanity, because all of us spiritually fall under these categories. St. Cyril of Alexandria says, what does preaching the acceptable year of the Lord mean? It signifies the joyful tidings of his own advent, that the time of the Lord, yes, the Son, had arrived. For that was the acceptable year in which Christ was crucified on our behalf, because we then were made acceptable to God the Father as the fruit borne by him. This acceptable year of the Lord, this connects to the idea of Jubilee years in Israel to describe the entire era of his messianic reign. In Israel, Jubilee years were very special years of liberty and restoration, observed every 50th year. This was decreed in Leviticus 25. It was a time of economic, social, and spiritual renewal for the Israelites. Some key features of Jubilee years were that all slaves were set free, land that had been sold was returned to its original owners, debts were forgiven, and it was a year of rest for the land. So the land was left unworked for a year, emphasizing trust that God would provide and a reminder that ultimately the land belonged to him anyway. Again, if we think about these ideas, freedom from slavery, the restoration of property, or the restoration of what was originally ours, the forgiveness of debts, rest. So those are all very, very important themes, and they all connect to Christ's reign in the kingdom. So in the Old Testament, then, the Jubilee year is a type, a pointer towards Christ's rule in the kingdom. And so he says that he has come now, and that in the work that he is going to do as Messiah, this is now going to unfold. Everything that has been anticipated by Israel to this point is now going to come to fruition in reality. The type is fulfilled in him. Thanks for joining me for this episode of my podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Eastern Orthodox Christianity but can't regularly attend an Orthodox church, you might be interested in the Fellowship of St. Theophan the Recluse, an online community of Orthodox seekers and inquirers. For more information, send me a message. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, or if it's on social, to like and follow. Until next time, take care, and God bless.